Okay. Trying this again. Let's see if I drop frames. I wish I had another monitor. That would make things so much easier. Does this change anything? Okay. You can see more of this. That is actually kind of more what I want you to see. So, I want to talk about some games that are coming out. Let's get this out of the way. So Gamefest happened right before I went on a family trip, and I really wanted to talk about it beforehand, but I just didn't have time to. So first of all, we got Silent Hill F. That's pretty fucking cool. Release date. It's coming out September 25th, I think. Which apparently they did something similar with Silent Hill 2, where it was like they were talking about it, not saying when it was going to come out, and then like, oh, it's coming out in 3 months or 4 months or whatever to get people all excited, which is pretty smart, I would say. I think with like games right now, it just feels like a constant cycle of like what's new, and people easily lose interest in things. So that seems like a pretty good marketing tactic, I guess, on their end. 1 second. Let me bring up the Silent Hill. Well, I don't... Let's see. There's like a bunch of different gameplay trailers. I don't know if there's... Yeah, there's a demo out. Maybe I should play the demo. I haven't seen anything about it yet, but has anyone heard if it plans to release a playable demo closer to launch? Okay, so people are getting this. I've seen different like gameplay videos. I don't know how it works because it's like, I don't know if they're just kind of content farming. But anyways.
Blake's got a...
Oh my god. That's annoying. Fucking ads. Let's actually show this. I'm sure the crop is gonna make it look weird, but I wanted to show some cool parts. Oh, like right over here. So, it'll show it already. We see some new monsters. This one we saw in the trailer. This one I'm really excited for. The fucking creepy... I forget what the Japanese name for it is, but those dolls. We get some dialogue with the characters. Or... that was the other video. But... point is, we saw in like the release date trailer like a little bit of dialogue between her and I can't remember her name, but the girl with the pigtails. I'm getting really hard Rikishio 7 vibes from this, with like people will say one thing and then you'll hear something else. People kind of switching back and forth, and like sort of social paranoia. I've noticed that Higurashi seems to be about like how you can interpret like what somebody says, if it's meant to be hostile, if it's meant to be just joking, if it's completely benign, and you can really go back and forth. And it's also mainly influenced by like how much you're able to fit into that group, because in Hinamizawa, like, they don't like outsiders, and we're to believe that they purposely permanently exclude outsiders. But yeah. And also, I was very pleasantly surprised at Gamefest to see, was it official release? Hold on. Okay, Ill is now able to be wishlisted. I have been following this game, the development of it on Twitter, since it really like started happening in 2021. It's already been 4 years, which is insane. I'm gonna go ahead and hang on one second. Okay, so just to go back, basement concept scene. Oh wow, that's garbage quality. Let's do this. How does that look? That's slightly better. But yeah, cool as shit. Clearly, they're being infected by some worm creature. We already get that at the very beginning. And then, let's see, real-time body transformation. So I was already, like, just right off the bat blown away by the animation. I don't know very much about animation and game development, to be completely honest. Like, I know people who've, like, started to make their own games, make their own models, and that kind of thing in Blender. But yeah, really fucking cool. Really high-quality stuff. Hallway, this is the one that, like, made me go, oh shit. Is he running around barefoot here? Is that what I saw? The sound design. Fucking insane. Sorry. But like, sorry, am I live? I guess I am. It's not registering as such, which is weird. Like, when I look up my channel, I can't. What the fuck? Why? I want to see how shit looks. But yeah. Oh yeah, this one is fucking cool too. really short teaser. Some concept art, like I think around this time we were starting to see a shift in like horror video games and a lot more am I mixing it up with like film? I don't know. But I felt like we had been needing some fresh material like this. So just like random stuff they'll put out, so it was just like every little like bit I was just like eating it up every time they posted. And like 2024. So we didn't hear anything really for a while. What's this one? Oh yeah. I don't understand flag things. Are you in? Okay, I want to watch the thing. Uno momento. It's not registering me as live, which is really fucking weird. Whenever is that normal? It's never happened, really. Okay. Oh shit. I am washed the fuck out. Let's bring that down. Okay. Anyways. So they did the official trailer, and that was cool. We got to see some like zombie babies at the end, kind of like reminds me of a Dead Space with the exploding babies. And then what else was there? Let's just do trailer, gameplay trailer. Let me just scrub through the video. Yeah, we see helicopters. So it seems like there is some effort to contain the illness. So I wonder who our character is that we're playing as and why he's there. There we go. It's gonna be cropped because I wanted to show things on Twitter and have it zoomed in, but so it's probably gonna look like shit, but you can watch the trailer on your own. I just want to talk about it. It just looks so good. Can't wait for this game to come out. I'm definitely gonna play it on here. The the lighting is so good. That was another thing, was they would post like lighting updates. I think I followed the artist first before they made the like. At first, it just seemed like, you know, unrelated, like a disconnected project. If I remember correctly, I follow a lot of like creepy artists on Twitter, so sometimes the style blends together. Yeah, you get that frustration out, buddy. Sounds so good. Anyways. Okay, so next I want to do a quick like recap on Higurashi before we start playing it. And also I gotta figure out how I'm gonna reposition this crop so you can actually see the game as I'm playing it. OBS does not make things easy always. Also, I just got not Halo, what the fuck, why did I say Halo? I got the Fable Anniversary, so I'm definitely going to be playing that probably in between Higurashi maybe, just to spice it up a little bit. That'll be just like chill late night gaming maybe. Oh my god, it was just here. So, I think it's really interesting that like we've gotten so many oh my god. This is gonna be a nightmare. Nightmare. While I figure this out. I took notes while I was traveling because I just needed to like engage with Higurashi while I couldn't play it on stream. Just like little things that get dropped, like for example when we go to meet Reina in the first little bit of the first day that we're in Hinamizawa in the story. Fuck, what was I gonna say? Yeah. So like there's a girl crying on the train, she's saying sorry, or it's like it's implied that she can't be saying that anymore, she can't say something anymore, and then we wake up, we're on a train, and a girl's saying sorry over and over again. So it's like, we're supposed to kind of compare that to Reina, obviously, and then when we go to meet Reina, it's like, how long does she stand there? Come to find out, like, Reina stands and creepily listens to us through our bedroom door. And it feels like every single time something creepy happens, just a little bit before it gets foreshadowed in the story. For example, what was it? So like when they're playing zombie tag, Keiichi tries to trick them and say, hey, someone's waiting for you at the gate. Someone was waiting for Oishi, the detective, I guess? He never really specifically says he's from the police. He's waiting at the gate for us later on, and Mion and Reina find out about it. We learn about, like, the victim of the dam construction, the construction foreman, I guess, gets murdered by some workers, or we're supposed to believe that, let's see, end of chapter 8. Shit, where were we? This might be going back. First one, get rid of all their... Yeah, no, this is me replaying. Shut the fuck up, Razor. I don't want you. So... What was I to say? Oh, come on. I just fucking closed it. I thought I would... Anyways. I was going to look into tips for a second to... So basically... so it was 5 construction workers for the dam that killed the foreman. Or 6. Only 5 came forward eventually. We know that the victim, the construction foreman, he resisted by swinging a shovel around. So it's kind of unclear who started the conflict. And then we find out that Tomitake, when he was choking to death, let's say, like, because he was scratching at his neck, more foreshadowing that is going to build off of. But Tomitake was swinging around a piece of wood, but it never seemed to hit anybody. It seemed to just hit I guess it's like a barrier for the highway, so you don't like go off the road, like a guardrail. So there's that. Two people have slipped into the marsh. I forget what it's called. They had a name for the marsh. We've got, Queen. She's meowing. She wants to come in. Yeah. You silly. Okay. There's a lot of, like, as I was talking about with Silent Hill F as well as Higurashi, there's a lot of, like, in-group versus out-group dynamics. And, you know, when Keiichi makes the joke, like, oh, you better be careful, to Tomitake, Tomitake takes it as a joke, kind of laughs it off and says, is that meant for an outsider like me? And I thought that was interesting because I think Keiichi is soon going to feel like, at that point, was soon going to feel like an outsider, and he's starting to at this point. So, let's actually fucking play the game. Fuck. It's fine. You can actually see the thing. Alright, continue. End of chapter 8. That sounds about right. So we've got all our tips. Community notice. We also know from that meeting that Oishi had with, I'm guessing, the person that does autopsies, can't think of that name. It seems like he's going about this on his own, Oishi. He's not using the police to help him out. And it's very weird that Oishi is saying he doesn't understand Onikakushi getting demoned away when people go missing. Like, is he feigning ignorance? What's the motivation behind that? Is the police just really stupid? Like, or are the police really stupid, I should say? Like, I don't know what this is. Maybe he's feigning ignorance because he thinks Keiichi will be biased towards his friends? So he doesn't want to tell him too much? And we saw that, oh no, my thing is, my headphones are dying. No. I should have charged them last night. We're gonna do this shit. It's gonna be annoying, but lovely static noise from having the charger plugged in. Anyways. I'm a little bit confused why it's acting like I'm not live. Whatever. Not whatever. I want to share this stream. That's why it's being made private. Haha. So I made like a OBS was fucking up, so I was like, let me just end stream and then restart. So I made that one private because it was just me messing with shit. It wasn't anything. So it thinks that I wanted to make this one private, and I do not. So okay, maybe now we can actually fucking play the game. So, Reina was at our door, listening to us talk to Oishi, basically talking shit about her. We get a flash of white, weariness, and a headache. New music. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Keiichi, you don't look so well. When did you go to sleep? It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of someone standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Or maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease. It might be a cold. I don't really have an appetite. My, you do seem a little warm. Well, can you make it to school? Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. It wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Ding dong. I don't know if you want to go to school. Mion and Reina don't come to school tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than I would usually meet up with Reina. It was Reina. Reina-chan came to get you. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the day off? Reina was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. Dude. The lunches she made were delicious and she always looked out for me. He's in denial. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Reina's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. It just had to be. I'll rest. Sorry. Then I'll go send her off for you. Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Reina, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I quickly fell into a deep slumber. Reina's gonna be standing right there. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared in a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They'd probably be back sometime after dinner. On the note, it said, "The insurance card is in the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There was also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right, I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Man, getting to go to the hospital and not have a crazy bill. My boyfriend had a really bad flu one time. We were scared that it was COVID, but thankfully it wasn't. And we went to the hospital because he was so weak and just horrible feeling. I forget what they charged him, but it was like $300 fucking to get the vitals checked, temperature taken, some Gatorade. Like, the fuck? Anyways, normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital's sign came into view. Irie Clinic was clearly written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen. Okay, it's not cropped horribly. Now, this is how I'm gonna have it set up, probably. Mayabara-san, please make your way to the examination room. I am a little bit chilly in here, but I don't want to get up to turn up the air conditioning. After properly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. What, did they give you like a shot of like vitamins? I've never thought of getting a shot for a cold. But that's weird. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it just wasn't for that word. Must have been an Oni Kakushi. I wonder, she was still pretty young, might have just eloped. With whom? That man from Tokyo who visits every season, that young one with that big camera. Didn't you know they were getting along pretty well? Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I could feel my ears perking up. I don't know about that, but you have to make preparations before you elope. Leave a note or quit their job or something. It's an elopement because they didn't leave a note or message. The thought that I'll never see that young nurse's face again makes me rather sad. Takano-san is an upstanding young woman. She'll be fine wherever she goes. So her name was Takano-san? That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic. Oyashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing, and it didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Oh, I have my water right here. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place. Of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. as I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. Not a good idea. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved off further to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Ah, fuck. Maibara-san, good day to you. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me. I don't think we should be seen together in public, dude. You're really, not going about this in a professional way. What's up today? School on break? Just not feeling well, so I took the day off. Was about to buy lunch and head back home. That's great. I'm just about to get lunch myself. Would you mind going together? If you're not feeling up to it, then don't mind me. I was just going to lie down after going home anyway, and I didn't really have a cold. I doubt you'd want to eat at one of these local places. Let's go into town. It's a bit of a drive. Is that alright? I know a pretty good place. I just switched between Keiichi and Oishi-san's voice. I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I went with Oishi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie. I'm sorry about calling you so late last night. Did your parents get angry at you? No. I recalled Reina, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This is where Tomitake-san died. They've hit a snag on the investigation regarding Tomitake-san. Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye. They believed it was caused by hallucinogens, given how he was clawing out his own throat, but a drug that could cause that to happen so suddenly is extremely hard to come by. Bear in mind, of course, the autopsy was done with that premise in mind, but we didn't find any leads. You know that thing you see in comics all the time? Where there's a drug that if you put it in them, it doesn't leave any traces? It exists. Succinol something or other. Well, it's pretty common, but you see, there doesn't seem to be any kind of drug that would cause Tomitake-san to react like that. Then you're saying the police concluded Tomitake-san just died from the curse? I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of the curse to be dissociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death. Unfortunately, that's how it looks right now, but putting aside the cause of death, without a doubt he was surrounded by a group of people and had taken a beating before he died. That was no curse, but an incident that unquestionably involved other humans. That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa train station. Where's a pen? Okay, that's not gonna work. Whatever, it's fine. Car pulled into a restaurant parking lot and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. I am gonna turn the AC up. I am freezing. behind me, but I'll just have this sweater, like, eh. I don't want to fully put it on, because, like, the outfits keep, I don't know. I'm just gonna have it on one side. We'll do that. Act as a blanket. Am I a little washed out again? Sun finally came out. How do I... No, not display capture. Yeah. That's fine. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course there wouldn't be children here in the middle of a weekday. 2, please, non-smoking. This way, please. When you are ready to order, please call me over. We were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth. Did you take her to a maid cafe? So what do you think? Aren't the waitresses' outfits here cute? Huh? Well, I guess. The shop was always quite busy. It's more about the waitresses than the food, you see. Uh-huh. Oishi-san, you're leering. Am I really? Anyways. Come on, Oishi-san, what's the fucking point here? Stop stalling. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Oishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table. Yesterday we talked about Hinamizawa's past, didn't we? Yeah, that it was the village of man-eating demons or something like that. I don't know much about it myself, so I asked my grandmother about it this morning. Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket. Turns out that Hinamizawa used to be called Onigafuchi, or Ogre's Abyss. Onigafuchi, that's quite the name. The name is still around. The marsh where the Shinto priest's wife drowned herself is still called Ogre's Abyss. It is said that the depths of that marsh connect to the realm of demons. Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous marsh. And you see, it appears that they were both feared and revered. A respect born of fear. I guess you could say it was a kind of deification. I'm gonna turn... Village of inhuman creatures. Seems the demons were senin, or mountain-dwelling mystics of sorts, taking villagers with incurable illnesses into the Ogre's Abyss and healing them, for example. Even if we were calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or senin would be a more apt description. They don't seem like such terrible people, even though they were called demons. But they were still man-eating demons, according to the story my grandma told me, as payment for treating the son's illness. Let us eat the mother who brought him here, was apparently how things went. The price of curing her son was herself. That's unsettling. Of course, the mother took her son and ran. Then, you see, all the people who lived in Onigafuchi, the demons chased them down, rounded them up, and captured them. The entire village, apparently. That's quite a frightening thing to imagine. In the end, it seems both the mother and son were caught and eaten. The end. There's a problem with this story. Both witnesses in the story were eaten, so nobody would be able to tell the tale. Huh? There are plenty of old fables like this. In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee. But, well, there are quite a few other tales where the demons from Onigafuchi band together to capture their prey. I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped. They hunted down a single person and they chose who it was going to be beforehand. Huh? That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant. My grandmother told me you must never interfere with the demon's hunt. You should hole up in your house and hide under the covers, she said. So what does all this mean? It means you mustn't ever help or protect the prey. As long as you don't disturb the demon's hunt, no harm will fall upon the villagers. It seems that there's that kind of rule. Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities, in other words. What happens if you break the rule? Well, they're man-eating demons after all. Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the perpetrators were all of the village families. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. When there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it. Then, Oishi-san, I guess it looks like it's either the village families or a group of villagers perpetrating the crimes. What do you think, Mayabara-san? Excuse me. Another cup of coffee, please. That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the others to say that last part. I waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking. Talking about coffee, I ran out of coffee yesterday. So I've been having to drink tea that I have, but I'm almost out of that too, so later I'm gonna have to go to the store. Last year I had a nagging feeling when Satoshi-kun disappeared. Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl in his coffee. Finally, we're talking about Oishi-san, or Satoshi-san. So those friends of Satoshi-san, meaning your group of friends, Mayabara-san, I had a bit, really just a little bit, okay, of background checking done on them. If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have been furious, since he told me earlier not to suspect my friends. But as I was now, I couldn't. This might sound pretty stupid. Mayabara-san, if you feel that it's stupid, please say so. I'll just stop. Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This is probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. Please. That was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began. The victim of the incident in the first year was the overseer. A few weeks prior, he had an altercation with Mion Sonozaki-san. Multiple altercations. Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up. In the second year, the married couple who supported the project died in that accident, right? They had a daughter. Her name is Satoko Hojo-san. Huh? Sadako meaning Sadako. Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down. Oh, I thought he was thinking that for a second. The Shinto priest and his wife who died in the third year, you see, their daughter is Rika Furude-san. Rika-chan was the housewife who died in the fourth year, you know already, don't you? It was the step-aunt of Sadako Hojo-san. She was in her aunt and uncle's custody as she had lost both of her parents in the accident. She lived in the victim's house. I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet. Giving me Silent Hill vibes with like the ball-jointed doll monsters that are going to be in F. The one who disappeared the fourth year, by the way, he was Sadako-san's older brother. Just Just a second. It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard. All of the victims seem to be connected to your group of friends. That has to be just a coincidence. Or, Keiji, that has to be just a coincidence. Maebara-san, keep it down. Everyone's looking. Mion, Sadako, Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Reina's different, isn't she? Reina isn't connected with the victims at all. Reina Ryugu-san was living in a suburb of Ibaraki Prefecture until last year. Well, it's true she hadn't directly met any of the victims. He said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all the windows. Reina did that? She broke all the windows of her school? That same silly Reina had... I couldn't even imagine it. It seems that after her 3-day suspension, she didn't return to school. She went to a neurologist and was diagnosed with dysautonomia. She was given 3 weeks of counseling and medication. I wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I'm gonna look this up. A dysfunction of the nerves that regulate non-voluntary body functions, such as heart rate, blood pressure, and sweating. Okay, so it's not like a mental illness, it's physiological. I'd heard that it happens to people who are really methodical or oversensitive. Neither of those matched Reina's easygoing personality. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Reina-san. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What did? I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything for me more to regret. She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why had Reina spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa? It seems like the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost, appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told. A while after that, she moved to Hinamizawa. Ah, that's right, she's not an outsider. Huh? According to their residency register, the Ryugu family used to reside in Hinamizawa. So now Keiichi's the official outsider. Reina-san moved to Ibaraki right after she finished elementary school. My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension. Maebara-san, are you all right? Shall we stop? Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here. Now I understand Reina. Then, how about the last victim, Tomitake-san? Who was he connected with? Irritated, I let out one final reprisal. All of them. Have you forgotten Maebara-san? Didn't you spend the night of the festival together quite merrily? Quite a few of the officers saw you enjoying yourselves. Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush. We should get going. Maebara-san, did you take your afternoon medicine? I'd completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi had said that. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. My posture is garbage right now. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately trying to tell me something. But that big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car. I'll drop you off at your house. You missed school because you were ill, correct? My apologies for the long conversation. Why did you talk to me? I blurted out the question. Really, just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer. I did check with you first, didn't I? If we should just stop. Not that. Why did you reach out to me? I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, know? By chance, if there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me, then it would have to be that I looked suspicious to Oishi-san, as I was part of Mion's circle of friends. I'm retiring this year. I plan on moving away after retiring as my grandma wants. So while I'm still on the case, I want to bring the truth behind this incident to light. So, Oishi-san, you suspect them, don't you? All of them. Oishi-san really didn't give a response. It felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings. This is mostly my intuition from 30 years on this job, Maebara-san. You're the one in danger. Huh? I wanted to reply with that was absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it. I'll be retiring this year, so I won't be at the Wadanagashi next year. So I wanted to settle things. In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Wadanagashi, I might be the victim. I've been warned by the chief as well. Each incident in the string of cases has been solved, so don't bring it up again, or so I was told. This is the pressure that I'm facing. Pressure from what? Someone in Hinamizawa. We've arrived. Is this fine? Hold the fuck on. So... is he talking about the chief? Who he's getting pressure from? After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised by so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears. I won't mind if you just forgot everything I told you today, but I'm still going to keep investigating. I'll end Oyashiro-sama's curse this year. So you're saying I should contact you if anything happens? It's fine. Just contact me when you feel you have to, Maebara-san. I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it. Be sure to take it easy. I'm sorry for throwing all this at you while you're taking the day off because you're sick. I really didn't give any sort of response. I'll always be on your side. If anything, believe that. I'll be off now. The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in a shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. That wasn't a criminal investigation, or this wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. And I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole. Damn it, I don't want to die. For some time I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind from the AC from the car. God. I don't like Oishi-san. I really don't. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Don't answer the phone. Hello, this is the Mayabara residence. Oh, he's alive. Hello, this is Mion. How are you doing? Is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi's resting now, but shall I put him on? Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry. Wahaha, idiot, you fell for it. Huh? Kei-chan? After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me. I'm relieved that you seem well. Reina was really worried, you know. Sadako-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate, he's sick. Looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it. Well, you know. So, Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit? A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying. My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some. Hey now, you'll catch my cold. Not to worry, both Reina and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See you, be there in a bit. She hung up cheerfully. Reina's coming too? That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Reina, but I guess if she was with Mion? Now, it's 2v1 now. Shouldn't have picked up the phone. You shouldn't have picked up the phone. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later. How are you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest? I just did that. Or I did just that. Thank goodness you look well. I was worried. Sorry, I'll be fine by tomorrow. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Reina looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions. I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it. You don't say? See, my face appeared a bit sullen. Then here, Keiichi-kun, these are the mochi Mi-chan's grandma made. Reina held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty. Ah, thanks. Send my regards to your grandma, Mion. Yep. Ah, there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each of the mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow. Were you checking on if I was feeling better, or did you just come here for club activities? Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow. Man, what are you going to do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans? Mi-chan, you shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry. Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess. You're right, let's get going. By the way, Kei-chan, yeah? What did you eat for lunch? No, sorry. What did you eat for lunch? The sudden question startled me and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. But why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it, it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied. So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun? Keiichi-kun? The glimmer from Reina's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words. Even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me. Well, was it good? Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew what I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was. Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he? Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh? Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking. Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know. Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever. So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too. We weren't talking about you guys. It didn't have anything to do with you or Reina. Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that? Reina's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode. Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that. I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. Interesting that we're now hearing the crickets. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly. Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home. As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered through the narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again. See you, Kei-chan. Yeah. I'd hate it if you miss school tomorrow, alright? Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about? Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then, what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that that was unnecessary. Was it that Oishi-san talked to me about the incidents involving Oishiro-sama's curse that occurred every year, weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole? as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Reina, Sadako, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they were warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because someone from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at that time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. Sure, Keiichi. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Reina. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Reina was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Reina, and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Reina was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. Mion was also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender, and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking about not getting bored, rambunctious Sadako was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then, hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Reina, Sadako, and Rika-chan were all suspicious, after that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomitake-san the night of the Waranagashi. If I had just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity, that's right. That's why they killed Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everybody went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Oishi-san as well, for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomitake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. As if you're not an outsider, Keiichi. Stop being a pick-me. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. Oh, that reminds me, I need to eat those mochi. I hope I'm able to tell which one Reina made. I remembered the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow, our club delivery, that was something else. Oh my god. Keiichi is just desperate. Holy shit. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it, to fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. I like red bean mochi. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Reina made one of these. I wonder which one. That was also another foreshadowing thing, was like, oh, what of this did you make, Reina? Like, I could tell it's yours because of your scent. Like, being weird. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Reina's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So, well, just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like this challenge depends on whether or not this one is Reina's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remembered correctly. So that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Reina? She probably only made 1. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Hi, Queen. Aww. She just reached her paw out onto my knee. What are you doing? You're like right next to the power button on my computer. Could you scooch over? Hey, Queen. Oh. She likes to sit on top of my computer because it's warm. So she probably spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one that Reina made was this one, E. For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid, as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Reina made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champ, Mion's grandma. Let's see. Not bad. The smooth bean paste was soft. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was quite an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Reina's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion, but, well, first a bite. This is quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Reina the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. I only had 1 bite of Reina's. I would probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. If you know, you know. Chew, chew. Seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then, after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Reina had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hand that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion, Reina's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of a metallic sheen on one end of it. Yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look like just a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? Yeah, are you... It's like he's trying to deny it so hard. I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside of me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth and, after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. Then it finally registered exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat, plop, splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Reina and Mion and the others, they consider me an enemy, and they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me, not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. I want to play more, even though I know I need to continue stream elsewhere soon. What's a medicine that makes you commit suicide? And threat are our new tips. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? This is gonna be Oishi-san and the autopsy person. Mortician? Let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that causes someone to kill themselves? Not directly, no. That's quite a roundabout response. You're saying there's one that does it indirectly? Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state, like that? That's hard to say. What would a suicidal mental state be? Like a person with serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide when swinging from depression to mania. Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive, depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide, nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they're walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide. That's interesting. Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so. There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire. I see, so it means they gain the willpower to commit suicide. That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses. Then, was Tomitake bipolar? People who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm as though going through withdrawal is completely different. Tomitake's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. As I said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide. There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid. There were no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities? All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness, something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder. But Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them. I wonder, is there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden? Hold on. Baby's crying. Hello, big baby. Oh my god. Finally, worked out for, the first time in a week. So I'm really tired today. Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors. Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state. The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry, and he could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility. Could you explain it to me in simpler terms? Don't eat plastic. What? Oh, basically, that was a horrible laugh. Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl and that made him go haywire. Then his lady didn't have any intent to kill, just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely. But of course, it's not like that. Undoubtedly. If it was habitual drug use, it was something mental, or if it was something mental, the deceased's body holds the key. How are things on your end? Oh my goodness. Look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will be angry with me. Yeah, good luck. Best wishes. Best wishes. That was weird. Threat. Those guys just now. They had national diet badges. Then it's prefectural assembly member and city councilor Sonozaki. That's interesting. The prefectural assembly member and city councilor are related. It's dirty is what it is, shouting out each other's name during elections. While one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly and they double up their campaign activities, blatantly. I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election? As long as they have no prior consultation, there are no restrictions on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigations division is going to be pretty tough for you. You should at least brush up on election policies. I'm not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb. There was prefectural assembly member Sonozaki and city councilor Sonozaki. Also, the mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. What crap. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. Okay. You lost sitting at the desk privileges. Oh. Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief. Came to me. That night when this chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. Stop it. Now he's like trying to infiltrate my desk from the back. No, don't eat plastic. Okay. Goliath, come on. I want to try to do longer streams, like 2 hours if I can. But, yeah. I have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something, did you? I don't know who's... Nope, not a thing. Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and fish cake. Hang on a second. Okay, so we're flashing to when the chief... Okay. Counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. A petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled. Goodness me, I've not the faintest. No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? I've already got my hands full with Tomitake's death, actually. Aha. Really? If that's true, then there's no such problem. Okay. He wants to look out the window. There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. Oh, that was quite the feast. This month has been a bunch of losses for me, so my wallet was feeling the pinch. Much appreciated. Ah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you. I haven't been doing well there lately. I haven't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi. I'm going by train. Police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. I can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it still looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. Well, see you again tomorrow. Happy New Year. Oshi-san. Yeah. Past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers half believe it's really a curse. Well, I'm not convinced. You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom? Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. It's the least I can do. And the pension, well, it'll let me enjoy myself in Susukino. Not sure why that's funny. The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says. Public servants' pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. So if you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus 2 years' salary would be inflated and you'd get a heavy surplus of funds. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not a custom that's thought of highly. The differences between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I'd expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, well, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end it really just has to do with the passage of time. It's not something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway. I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you've worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself. kind of like not paying attention to this, but also it's like we're getting a little bit of insight to Oishi-san's motivations. If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it. You'll get it. You're an adult after all. Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh man, I wonder if I can really repay that loan. It's 5:30 where I'm at. I'm thinking I'll probably end it around 6. I want to keep going really bad. So, we'll save. Continue. I feel like that tip with Oishi-san really wasn't that much to worry about. I don't know. I'd have to relook at it. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. A moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber. I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't caught up yet. Oh shit, sleep paralysis. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door. I once had sleep paralysis. And I didn't see anything, from what I remember. But it was just that state of not being able to move while my mind was awake. And then I just like woke up and just like my chest felt like it had been crushed. It was really, whew. There was like I had to like recover for like a good 2 hours before I felt like normal. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet? If they came into my room right now, then... Eek! I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door. Well, Keiichi, what's the matter? I thought that was laughter, but it was just a yell. Sorry, I was still half asleep. I thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. It felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Then I should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but it didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up, and my sense of balance felt off. I felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well. Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school? I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I had swallowed that needle, what would have happened? Or what if it had pierced my tongue? There was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other, more certain ways of doing it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle. Meaning, I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Reina and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Seeing something like sending a letter with a razor inside would have been a joke compared to this. Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine? Yeah, kind of. Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. She seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill. It'll be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off. Come on, get on up. They say wellness is a state of mind. I'd heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone. Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Reina-chan comes and gets you. Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day. By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry. I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me further about it. Yeah, no, if I was in her place, I would definitely want to know why he did that. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday, "I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow," came back and dwelled in the back of my head. What did she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying, don't be absent. So come to school tomorrow, not don't come to school tomorrow. Saying that a bit further, it was the same as her saying I should just go about living my life as if nothing happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. For example, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Oishi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning, if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect, it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. And it seems that something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. Let's see. So, if I just went along as normal, no harm would come to me. Was that how it was going to be? All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep on living like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept on living like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Keiichi, your food is going to get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Reina will be here if you don't hurry. I'm coming. I crammed my textbook into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. Alright. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. It seemed that I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Reina. Given yesterday's events, she'd probably be here in the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Reina. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. Ding dong, I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. It feels like things are like repeating, you know? I won't eat candy on stream. That chime signaled that Reina had arrived. Mom hurried me along. Come on, Reina-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry. My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see Reina, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Reina on the other side, was it the Reina I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual. Morning! An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway. I came since Keiichi was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder? The manner in which Reina was concerned was, without a doubt, the Reina I knew. But that was Probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday, pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death, and the terminal illness and suicide, and the lynching, and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Reina and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget, forget, forget. Reina once again asked to make sure. Can you make it to school? Yeah, I'm fine. Great, then let's go. Mi-chan's waiting. Reina showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. But you see, Sadako-chan was so insistent she could do it. As we were walking, Reina talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual. Then Sadako-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. She was so cute. Everything Reina talked about was just silly nonsense, so I just replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was a rather laid-back conversation. We passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us. Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Reina-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mio-chan said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh, did Mi-chan look mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun. As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbor, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile. Keiichi-kun smiled. What? Reina stopped and stared at me. I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun, but now you seem fine. Fine. With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile. Hey, Keiichi Maibara, how can you so doubt Reina after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I imagined everything that I thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hoped that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there's only one thing I'd wish for. I would want what had happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Wananagashi up until last night, I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wondered how many times I'd wished for this the past few days. As long as Reina kept on smiling like this, I think it might just become reality. So I wanted Reina to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling. So, Keiichi-kun, those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? That vain wish of mine was instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Reina's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual. Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all? Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, Reina was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that. Keiichi-kun? I was reluctant to give an answer. Reina stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maibara. Reina was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and mouth had gone dry and my lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time has passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Dead? Reina playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Reina's reaction was still normal. It seems that there wasn't as long of a pause as I had thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened Reina's expression. For a moment, I panicked, thinking I had replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Reina broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well. I see. So, did you eat all of them, I wonder? I wonder? My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I'd swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. Nah, I couldn't finish all of them. There's still some left. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it. Huh? What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Reina made? Ah, that homework, was it due today? Yeah, it's due today. Michan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you. We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then even I'd think it was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Reina. Lies. I recalled that unexpected piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from Reina's mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Reina? No, that was wrong. That was still Reina. Oishi-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I looked into her. Before Ryugo-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. It seems she went through her school building and broke all of the windows. Reina had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden burst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two. But she broke all of the windows all throughout her school. Just imagine going through your own school breaking the windows with a bat. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after another, paying no heed to the flying shards. Your classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Smash, walk, wind up, smash, walk, wind up, smash. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Reina smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noises Reina treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Reina's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wondered what they did as Reina came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her, trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of these. In the face of that blood-curdling sight of Reina bursting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Reina to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. That's not to say they were looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could to protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Reina's new target. What would Reina have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acted according to her whims. Meaning I would be the next window. Reina staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. You can see the HUD like moving. She's moving back and forth. And every time I click, we're just hearing that. Then Reina struck me with the bat over and over again like I was one of those windows. I crouched down onto the floor, desperately protecting my head. Reina didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. What kind of expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent. It was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Reina wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Somebody save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out? What? But of course, everyone in the class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gain nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually, there would be a faint sound similar to when you crack open a walnut, but some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Anyways, it wasn't that Reina momentarily lost herself in her anger. After forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Oishi-san told me. And in the counselor's medical report, he recorded all of the conversations he had with Reina-san. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Following that, Reina was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. Then, as Reina was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over again. Oyashiro-sama. It seems that Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. That was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. Then what Reina did? Was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. That's why I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happen because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not some curse. Except, if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. Why? How? For what reason? Was everybody? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro's curse. In the aftermath, Reina had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. Okay, I think my headphones charged enough. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Reina. She did that because she was possessed by something strange like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Reina's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew this was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. Now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice, accepting that Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Reina and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths? I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I wanted to believe that, but that was no longer possible. I had received their message. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning at my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being a human or curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no reason at all. Cage-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why? I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Reina's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance. So he just fucking dissociated this whole fucking time? The fuck? What was the last thing that Reina said? It's probably a penalty game. I'm hesitant to believe that. What the fuck? Shaking my head a few times, I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Reina could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself? It feels like today is just a repeat of the first day. Like, I feel like there's some time shit going on. I've made note of this in in my notes, where like we begin at the end, and then we go back to what, like a month or a little bit before Waranagashi. So it feels like there's some weird kind of like timeline loop shit, and that's what I've generally heard from like Higurashi, is that it's all about like kind of going through the same things over and over again and like questioning it and looking at it from different perspectives. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony. Oh, how befitting for the truant Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Reina. Good morning, Sadako-chan, Rika-chan. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Sadako's trap. Sadako braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently. Keiichi's not acting like normal. What is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay? Suddenly there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest? It was Mii-chan, or Mion. My mind was full with stuff about Reina, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday? Yeah, morning. What's with that unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you? Because I ate them, I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I just really didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Reina's? I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Keiichi-kun. Sheesh, then we can't help it. Time for your penalty. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to expect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maibara, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Right. Oh my god. Why are we yelling downstairs? Okay. Just making sure. I'm gonna watch it for a second. Make sure. Oh shit. It's getting dark already. Okay. This free study period was a convenient time to something. to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oishi-san multiple times, I could see it as I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. Interesting how we're hearing the Higurashi and the music at the same time. Normally we switch. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. It probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me. They were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was using the seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn. Because, like, wouldn't that... If he's a transfer student, is Sadako also a transfer student? Because, like, I'm assuming they would move together as a family. So... Damn, I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? If I had these contradictory feelings for a while now, or I've had these, even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all their suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends? Covering for them? My life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Reina and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? Oh god. The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maibara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have been just an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Reina and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Reina just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked about what I had for lunch. Reina was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. Who's hour? It's like Keiichi has himself, and then he's got like his inner voice. She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside your room, and is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Oishi-san, didn't you? About what Reina did at her former school? But at the hospital, she said it was Oishiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Maibara. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? Huh? I inadvertently blurted those words out. Oh my god, Keiichi. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around to check if anyone else had heard it. Fucking stop spilling spaghetti out of your pockets, Keiichi. Jesus Christ. Holy shit. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Reina and others, part of me was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that, but I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who I had been happily laughing together with up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me, right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so only I could hear it. There was one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Reina and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. Oh my god, he's going fucking insane. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything else in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I probably would have happily jumped into that circle. My, Keiichi-san, how rude of you to even think about leaving. The way Sadako spoke was so typical and familiar, it almost physically hurt. Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together. Huh. Seeing Reina's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Oishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Slap. Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking, I slapped myself in the face. Keiichi-kun? Yeah, was Reina really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it was actually one or not. I just wanted someone to say it was. Yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive? Are you alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Reina. You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder. He's gonna yell at her. No! No, it's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since Keiichi was so bent on a revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before too. Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic. I wouldn't fall for such dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head. Remember, Rika-chan only pats someone on the head when she, feels bad for them. I mean, there's an innocent explanation for that, but also... Imagine, Reina, or Rika patting on you on the head is just, a mark of death. Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate. It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind, took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Harden that heart, Keiichi Maibara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them, because weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my consciousness was being ripped out of my body. If this is what Oishiro-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oishiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believed in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist, so seriously, give me a break. I beg you, come on. He's gonna get fucking jumped by Reina and Mion. Oh, he made it home. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he had just reached a good point to take a break, or he was in a slump. So yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business, I wasn't able to pick out much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought processes I had going on all day. Friends close to me. No, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in this currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents, who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Reina, for example, that neighborly Reina, who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me over to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Maebara family to have an accident or to just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was knowing that something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be a safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oishi-san. Him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving the case. It was a bit frustrating. Oishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meaning, it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then, when the fish started gathering around, Oishi-san would pull me up and pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Oishi-san. No question, it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oishi-san in would be difficult. I was in the city, or he was in the city, not Hinamizawa. So if I found him in my moment of need, it would take him about 30 minutes to reach me, so I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we could set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I'd just have to hide out there until Oishi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, it would probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. The reappearance of the bat. Because, like, Reina used it. Has he used it yet? Yeah. So far, just Reina has brought up mentioning of the bat. Not her herself, but yeah. I remembered there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. Also, one more thing, insurance. It could be something like a note or a memo. I could write everything down that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanish, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oishi-san should be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back into my room. He was in denial, and now he's like towards acceptance. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maebara, am in fear for my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be in this type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Reina and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof. And that's why I couldn't write down anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Is that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. I don't know, I would write down everything, I feel. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. Oh, I need to do some stretches pretty soon. I don't know when this chapter's going to be over. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was the chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was in too obscure of a location, then there was the risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like there was anything hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up such that, if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless different angles until I was satisfied and made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I'd never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned towards me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favor to ask of you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah? If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I started my request. Just in case, okay? If I die, both my parents' eyes went as wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So, please. What's the matter? Keiichi? Did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response for when someone's son suddenly talked about a subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With the awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Reina. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed, not when I still knew nothing. Okay. New tip. Not feeling so hot. Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder, maybe he's on his period. Me-chan, that's gross. What do you think? Don't know. Could be that Kei-chan, maybe, I don't know. That day Kei-chan was in that car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake. That Oishi, he probably fed him something fishy. He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's... Okay. Hang on. I'm trying to figure out who's... I'm gonna assume that this is Mion. No, this is Mion. This is Reina. Reina... I don't know. I can't tell. He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyashiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie. Oh? Is that so? The year before last, when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi. Now that you mention it, something happened before Satoshi-kun transferred out. Transferred? You're so sweet, Reina. So this time he's appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun is going to be demoned away too. An empty silence hung in the air. And then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Okay. We're at chapter 10. Got so many pages of saves. Probably because they know that people are going to dissect the fuck out of this. Okay, I better stop for tonight. It was a pretty good stream. Like, why is it still showing weird? Anyways, So today's Saturday, so maybe Monday. Maybe. Yeah, I should probably focus on other streams for the next couple days. Kind of get back into it. I have new content I need to film. I'm already caught up on Fansly, so yeah. Alright, so I'll probably stream here on Monday. I'm gonna try and make it like 2 hours if I can. So yeah. Things are getting really creepy. I'm really excited. I'm gonna take a break. My voice hurts. I need to stretch, rehydrate, and yeah, I'll update on Twitter. Alright. Bye-bye.